Hi, everyone. My name is Dimitri Tito, and I'm the chairperson of the AOGME Residents and Fellows Council. So welcome to our webinar on residency post-interviews and match strategies. So thank you for all of the applicants here present on the call. I also want to thank the panel for being present for this webinar. So before we get started, just a couple of things about what we do as part of the Residents and Fellows Council. So we actually just had a call for election. So we actually have a board election coming up soon. So as part of the Residents and Fellows Council, we actually provide educational activities and a leadership track for the residents and the fellows. We were created back in 2018 with a goal to develop future leaders of the osteopathic profession, just like some of you guys. So we also provide support and resources on critical issues in the osteopathic profession. We provide mentorship to student leaders. We provide networking opportunities for our RFC members. We actually just started an emerging physician leadership series that will be available to our RFC members. So if you're a fourth-year medical student, consider joining us. I'm going to have someone drop our email address. You can also visit us at www.aacom.org/RFC. So you can learn more about our webinars and our membership meetings. So this webinar is going to be a lot of good information, very valuable. No need to take notes. So it's going to be recorded for you guys. So I would like to invite our speakers to introduce themselves. So we have, I see Linda, Maria, Mustafa, Allison, Anita is here as well. So I'm going to let everyone go and introduce themselves. So if you could share with the applicants and the future interns, your name, your title, where you grew up, where you went to medical school, what residency you go to and your specialty, and then we'll go from there. So if I could start with Maria.
Sounds good. I'll try to remember everything I'm supposed to include. So I'm Maria. I'm a PGY2 in emergency medicine and internal medicine at Christiana Care in Delaware. I went to University of New England, College of Osteopathic Medicine in Maine, but I'm originally from Maryland. So I applied all over the Northeast for residency. And are we doing our tip for match? Is that what you said?
Oh, we'll come after that, actually.
We're getting there? Okay. Okay, perfect. That's me.
All right. And then we'll come back for the piece of advice. So next, Mustafa.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you can hear.
Oh, wonderful. I had some technical difficulties. So my name is Mustafa Basri. I am a PGY2 at University of Wisconsin, going into, or doing, I guess, radiation oncology. I did my intern year in Columbus, Ohio. I grew up in Ohio and, well, I grew up in Iraq and then Ohio. And I went to medical school at Kentucky College of Osteopathic Medicine. And yeah, welcome. This will be fun.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Mustafa. So Mustafa is actually in charge of the membership, and he's a membership chair. And then Maria is actually our policy chair in the council. All right, Allison.
Can everybody hear me? Perfect. Okay. So my name is Allison Daniel. I'm a PGY3. I'm studying family medicine at All True Health System in North Dakota. So a little bit cold right now. I'm going to be doing an obstetrics fellowship after I graduate here at the same place in North Dakota. I'm the secretary for the RFC board. I went to school in West Virginia, so the West Virginia College of Osteopathic Medicine. Yeah, Dimitri, Linda, and I were all three classmates there. And I'm originally from West Virginia, have lived there my entire life. So first time I'm out of West Virginia.
Awesome. And then Linda.
Hello, sorry if you can hear my screaming child in the background. My name is Linda Logan. I'm a third-year pathology and laboratory medicine resident at University of Vermont Medical Center in Vermont. I am from Salt Lake City, Utah. Went to undergrad there, and then as they alluded to, I went to med school at West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. And Anita?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anita. I am the program manager for GME initiatives at AOGME. And in my past role, I was a program manager for the pediatric residency training program at Morehouse School of Medicine for almost 5 years.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. And then I go next. I'm Dimitri. I went to school at the West Virginia School of Osteopathic Medicine, just like Linda and Allison. And I'm doing my medical or my residency in internal medicine up here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at the Western Michigan University School of Medicine. I'm a third-year resident up here. All right. Well, we go ahead and get started here. So, well, the first question I'm going to ask again before we come to the applicants, I'm going to turn it to the panel. I'd like to ask our panel if they could provide the applicants one or two pieces of advice in the post-interview process and the match. So if you could go back in time for the residents here, what would you advise the applicants or the future interns regarding the match? All right, well, I just leave it open. I'll start with Allison.
So the biggest thing that I think really, really helped me after I did all of my interviews and was getting ready for the match, getting ready for submitting my rank list was trying to just, figure out what my rank list was actually going to be, was to use some kind of sorting device that helped me just kind of pick out all of the details between the different programs that I looked at. What worked best for me is the AOGME actually, or maybe it's not AOGME, it's ERAS maybe. There's a Prism app. I can't remember exactly who makes it, but I actually use that. It really, really helped me. I kind of knew in my heart which program I wanted to go to, but it was validating to see, based on the qualifications that I was looking at, that the program that I loved was ranked #1. But you can make your own, you can do a spreadsheet, but I think the Prism app really, really helped me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I actually used that because I remember going back and forth between my top couple choices. It was just, I couldn't stop thinking about it. But it's good, it's good to use that application or make an Excel document for it. All right, and then Maria.
So I agree with Allison. My big piece of advice is to really think hard about programs you're debating not ranking. There's 10 to 11,000 applicants that go unmatched every year, and just be very intentional if you interviewed somewhere about not ranking them. Not to say that if you know you don't want to go somewhere, don't rank it, because you do have like a 45 to 90 day binding contract if you match. But like really weigh those pros and cons. Like, would you rather be in X program for like the next however many months to years in that specialty, or would you rather have a year soap scramble and then reapply or do something else? And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I have friends who didn't rank places that they didn't want to go and they were fine. I have friends who ranked places they didn't really want to go and they ended up there, and then they either transferred or they just kind of dealt with it. So it can go either way. There's not a right or wrong. My advice is just be intentional when you're deciding whether or not to not rank a program.
Yeah, I think I remember I ranked every program that I applied to. I mean, I wanted to match, but thank you for your piece of advice, Maria. Mustafa.
All right, so I think a couple things. I think reputation matters when you're interviewing at different programs, but ultimately what you want to evaluate isn't necessarily, does this look good on my resume or my CV? Does that hospital have a good name or whatnot? The question is, does the program fit you? Looking back, I definitely included some reputation in my rank list, and I think focusing more on the culture that really has much bigger impact on your overall program. Thankfully, I love my program, but you can see, at least in radiation oncology, you're here for at least 4 years plus a year of internship. If you don't like your co-residents or you don't like your faculty, it's going to be a long 4 years. And so choose a program that let you be yourself, help you with all your goals, personal and professional. Go where you feel, supported, valued, and connected with other people. And those things can vary from, someone living on the East Coast, West Coast. Those priorities can be different from someone living in, I don't know, rural Wisconsin. And we can dive more into that later.
Yeah, thank you, Mustafa. I remember going to my program's interview or the interview dinner. I could see people's face. I mean, they were all happy and they were all happy to be there. They were smiley. They were just very friendly. So that's exactly what Mustafa is talking about, making sure you're going to go to a place where you'll be happy for the next 4 years or how many years you're going to be. All right, Linda.
I would say, aside from culture and what's already been mentioned, whether you fit in or not, or if you want to rank them or not, I would consider benefit plans and all of the perks pretty heavily, because you never know like what medical trouble you might get into, what your disability insurance will provide. If you want to have a kid in residency, you're going to need insurance. Do you get food money? Do you get textbook money? So I think it's important to weigh that in addition to reputation. A lot of people were like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about benefits or like insurance, health insurance. So just make sure you think about all of the different aspects of residency, not just where you want to go geographically. And in the culture, make sure, you think about all the different perks that come along with it too.
Yeah, and that's awesome, because I didn't even think about it. For some of you guys with families, just knowing how many weeks of PTO you could get, things like that. I mean, we could talk about it during the actual session, but I appreciate that, Linda. And then before I let Anita go, for me, I think it's like Alison and Maria mentioned, going back to the book, positive and negative about each program, making sure you know the program where you're going to. And if you are offered a second look and you like the program, why not? Go for a second look. Again, you want to go to a place where you'll be happy, just like Mustafa mentioned. All right, Anita.
I would say my best tip is to definitely review your notes throughout your entire time that you've been interviewing. Most of you have been interviewing since October. We're now towards the ending of January. A lot of things have been forgotten. So definitely review your notes. If you have any questions that you forgot to answer, or let's say you're between programs as you're ranking them, then reach out to that program and ask that question, like how she was saying about the health benefits. Do you mind giving me more information about that? Looking back at the website, talking to some of the residents. Definitely don't be afraid to go back to a program that you interviewed with in October, November, early December, and just ask those questions again, because you never know. You're making a decision. As you said, you're going to be there for 3 to 5 years in some programs. So you definitely want to make sure that you're giving it all of its due diligence.
Yes, I agree. I mean, ask the program questions. Do not ask someone else. But you could go directly and ask the program. So, I mean, that's wonderful, wonderful advice. Well, without further ado, I'm going to transition to Maria. She's going to go over some of the questions that were submitted by a lot of you guys prior to this webinar. So Maria, just take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dimitri. Mustafa and I actually are going to kind of bounce back and forth and ask the panel some questions that you guys submitted. There are a lot of really good questions submitted. If questions pop up while you're talking as well, you can type them in the chat, and we'll try to either answer them typing in the chat while we're talking, or after Mustafa and I kind of highlight some of these questions, then we'll go back and talk about those questions in the chat as well. So we'll start off with question kind of just broad. How can we reinforce our interest in a program at this point? And then on that same theme, should you tell a program that is your number one that they are your number one? So I'll start with Dimitri. I don't know if you have any strong thoughts on that, but we'll bounce around.
Right, that's a very good question. For regarding telling a program that they are your number one, I'll be very cautious about that one. They really got to be your number one or number two for you to send that email. I did send that email. I think many people do. If closer to the match, you have a program that you really like, you have family there, that's kind of the place you want to be, the dream place, it's okay to send them that email to the program director or the coordinators. But yeah, just be very cautious. It's not, you're not going to be sending that to all the programs because all the programs talk. I mean, they will know about it, right? And the second part of the question was to how to follow up. I did send emails after interview. I think that's maybe the only way you could engage the program that you're further interested in them. You could also again consider second look. And you could ask them, hey, is second look an option? Would that be available to me? All right, that's all I have.
Yeah, Allison.
There we go. Okay. I would also second what Dimitri said. So either an email, I have also gotten cards from applicants as well. So in my program, the residents are very strongly involved with the match process. And so I have gotten emails to myself and the program director. I've gotten cards as well. And to be honest, the people that really stick out in my mind that I remember, obviously they're interviewing well. But I do remember those things whenever it comes time to make our match list.
Perfect. I would also just second what Dimitri said about making sure if you tell a program that they're your number one, that they are your number one. I don't think there's a downside in telling your number one you're ranking them one. But if you rank them one, then they rank you one, and then you don't show up on their rank list. If you rank them one, tell them you're ranking them one, then they rank you one, then you don't show up on their match list. They're gonna know you didn't rank them, and the medical community is pretty small, and it just isn't a great look. If you happen to send that email and then change your mind, send a follow-up email to the PD and say I'm really sorry, because of whatever, however you want to word it, let them know, because that is more respected than just ghosting them. But I agree with everything that's been said. I think sending the you're my number one email is a really good way to let programs know you're interested. Emailing current residents is also another way, what we were talking about in the intro. If you have questions about health insurance and stuff, emailing the program and reaching out also shows that you're interested in looking further into it, and gets you on their radar as well. All right. Take us away, Mustafa.
All right. So let's go to, you have interviewed successfully and you're doing great. You're trying to make your rank list. And how do you pick your top three? Someone can take it away.
I think that's where that self-reflection comes in. You're looking, you need to figure out what are the specifications that are most important to you. For me, I wanted to go to a program that was very heavy in OB or had an OB fellowship. If that's something that's really important to you, or if you're looking for a program that has, a great inpatient and outpatient experience, or if they're looking for something specific to your training, specific area, specific salary or benefits or things like that, you need to really, really self-reflect and pick out what's most important to you, and then use something to help you figure out what those programs need to be. And a lot of times I feel you just know, you feel that whenever you're interviewing at these programs, you can tell, hey, these residents look really unhappy. I don't want to work here. Listen to your gut, right? But if you love it, go for it.
Yeah, I echo what you said. You need to, one, keep a journal or running log of your thoughts as you're actively interviewing. Of course, we're past that point, but hopefully you took notes. And then try to put those notes, at least for me personally, I'm a nerd and I like numbers, to put those thoughts into numbers. And that could either be done, with a software that Allison mentioned, like Prism, or you can create a simple spreadsheet with, this is what I did. Created, I think it was 12 or 13 different things that I valued in a residency program that also included what my wife liked. And then I weighted them differently. Things like, professional career and research and whatnot, those things were more important to me. And then location and close, proximity to an airport and things like that were important to my wife. And they were just weighted differently. And then you tally the numbers and, you have your, I remember my top two were so close to each other, but they ended up being with a decimal difference. I don't know if that really helped me, but at least it can spit out a numerical number here. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
No, I echo what you just say, both of you. So that was wonderful.
And just to tie back to actually to the point that Maria was talking about, I think being intentional with your interactions with the program is very valuable. Instead of trying to play the game, which, you know, we're all playing it, the program is playing it, you're playing it, but be intentional. You really, you know, like the vibes in that one program, but you had a question about the residents, or you had a question about, do you think the residents are being overworked, are being abused, you know, disrespected, things like that. You can reach out to the program, to the resident, to be like, hey, I have a specific question about this. What are your thoughts on that? And that can really help move a program from, say, number 1 or number 2 or number 3 to really down, or move a program from below to top. So back to you, Maria.
Thanks. I'm gonna tack onto that too. I think picking like your top like 5 to 8 even maybe is almost more important than picking your number 1. Because at least for me, my number 1, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, got the butterflies, love it. Like this is where I want to be. This is amazing. And then everyone else was like, yeah, this is cool, but like you're not my number 1. But like I really, really like you. But like I want to go here more. But I mean, matching just period, I feel like is awesome and amazing. And the process is like a little out of our control to begin with. So just making sure that your programs like 2 through whatever, like I'd say at least 2 through 5 are programs you've really thought about and really taken into consideration everything like Mustafa and Dimitri and Allison just talked about, that you feel like you can fit with them as well. So trying to like say, okay, if my number 1 didn't exist at all, like how would I rank the rest of them? Because I think that's also something, not just like throw a couple random ones on a list and then realize, oh, you actually liked your number 9 and you should have put it 2, and like not having those regrets later on. I'm going to throw really quickly a link in the chat. I'm sure you guys have all seen this, but the NRMP has a couple really good videos just about how match works. And I think this goes to, oh, maybe it doesn't go to everyone. I don't know if we can't message everyone, I guess, in the chat. Sorry, guys. After so many years, you'd think I'd understand how Zoom works. We'll send it. I'll give it to Austin to send out in the post email. But the NRMP has a couple of really good videos, one on how match works and one how SOAP works, because like your considerations are taken, like your rank list is taken into more of a consideration than the programs. So just more emphasis on kind of why you should be cognizant about the rest of those like 2 through 5 to 8. That's all I have to say on that topic. So we'll move on to the next question. We kind of talked about this a little in the beginning, but you've done your interviews, you're in this limbo period. What is your advice on post-interview communication at all? Do you give everyone a thank you note? Do you give everyone like your number 1 through 5 a hi, I'm gonna rank you high email? What are your thoughts? This I think is a very individualized question, but I'll open the floor. I see Mustafa nodding. I don't know if Mustafa, you want to take us away first?
Sure. In the Red Onc world, there was a specific guidance to not send or feel pressure to send those things. And so basically after the interview is the only way that you interact with the program and the program interacts with you, unless you have questions, of course, follow after the interview. Otherwise, you're not expected to send thank you. You're not expected to tell them, they're your number 1, which I really liked. I still told a couple of my programs that, they're top of my list during the interview. And I remember one program, I actually sent them a letter or an email just saying, I really like the interview, I think it went well and whatnot. So, but talking to my, other friends and other residents who entered the match, it varies. Like what Allison said, those people can, stick out in your mind, but at the same time, people don't send anything. It doesn't necessarily ding you. It's just one of those things like, oh, there's this card, cool, moving on. If going back to being intentional, if you really like a program, if you are interested in that program, doesn't hurt. What's the worst case scenario? I mean, just send them an email, say, hey, I really like this interview. This went well. I thank you for taking the time to talk with me, or, things like that. That goes a long way. But if you're doing it just because, you're trying to play the game, I don't think those typically go well, or at least doesn't help. And the literature from the Red Onc world shows that whether or not you send post-interview communication, that has no bearing on match rate.
I will say that the program coordinators do a lot for this whole process. So I don't think there's any harm in at least thanking them. That's a little bit different than telling people that you want them to be your number one. But even if you didn't like the place and it's going to be low on your rank list, I would still acknowledge the hard work that they put in, because you may end up there, even if it's not your top 5, you know, you might get your 7th or something, and they'll remember you for thanking them for their time. They do a lot for this interview process.
I'm just
Awesome.
gonna agree with
Yeah.
Mustafa too. I don't think that it hurts to send thank you letters to pretty much all of your programs that interview you, because like Linda said, there's a lot that goes into planning an interview. It's an expense for them. You know, they pay for our dinners. My program here, they paid $750 to fly me to North Dakota. So there is a lot of expense that goes into this. And so it's not wrong to send them a thank you letter. I think I sent thank yous to every program that I interviewed at, but only my top 4, I sent emails and said, hey, I'm, you know, considering ranking you highly. I just wanted to thank you for the experience and stuff like that. And then my number 1 program, I did tell them they were my number 1 program, but I was 100% sure that I was not wavering on that choice.
I'll also say, if you're going to email the PD or like someone attending wise in a program, CCing the program coordinator and like addressing it to both of them is also huge, because I know at least in our program coordinator is like the behind the scenes for the program and make sure everything gets done, and our PD gets a billion emails and she kind of helps make everything run directly. The other thing, I was going to say something, Allison, you reminded me. I was going to talk about, yeah, the top 4 that you had mentioned, that you had sent letters to or emails to. And I think this for my year, because Mustafa and I were the first COVID interview cycle. So there was a lot of talk about like, how do you let a program know you can't like fly for a bunch of second looks? We couldn't even go in person and interview. Like, how do you let them know? And there, again, it's like kind of an individualized answer, but I ended up sending emails to my top 5. Just because it was so like all over the place that year. So the number 1, I knew what I wanted my number 1 to be, and I sent them that. And then for the other ones, I said, thank you so much. I am ranking you high on my list, or something along those lines, which I guess could be construed as like, I'm putting you as number 1, but I haven't decided. But also most programs, and from what I've heard feedback, most programs, if you say I'm ranking you highly, just assume you're not their number 1. And that could go either way. I don't think it's going to hurt you. But they also could be like, cool, you like us, that's great, but you don't love us. So, I mean, I think I get the feel from the specialty you're going into, because some specialties, like Mustafa said, like don't really want a lot of communication, which is great, but some like kind of do. So kind of, this is not very helpful advice, but take it on an individualized basis. And I think, especially with the COVID world and things are kind of loosening a little bit, but I don't think it hurts to let programs know you're interested and just saying you're ranking them highly if they're not your number 1, so they at least know that you're like, they're highly being considered on your list.
I don't know, Anita, do you have any ideas here, since you're the program receiving those comments?
Yes, thank you notes are excellent. If you can personalize them, that makes it even better. If you have any notes from that interview day, something that stuck out to you, anything that the resident said, anything that the program director said, the associate program director, definitely include that in your thank you note, because you know, we interview so many people at one time and you kind of forget you just a moment. And so when you jog our memories like that, it's like, oh, there you are. So it's really good to personalize your letters. You can also send thank you notes to your interviewers, like the faculty person. I've had people ask me for their email addresses and their physical address so that they can send a thank you note, and it's also really good. Program coordinators, yep, definitely. We love all the thank you letters, because yes, we're working behind the scenes, but yes, if you can personalize it, that would be even better. It just shows us that you really want to be here. Like, okay, this person's really paying attention on that interview day.
I think personalization is definitely awesome. Just for an example, one of our new interns this year, I specifically remember her email to me because I did her virtual tour, and we're going through the kitchen, like the cafeteria. She asked me, what is your favorite late night dinner? And I said, lasagna. It's the best here. And she sent me an email saying that she couldn't wait to share some lasagna with me. And I still remember that to this day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lasagna,
Wow.
lasagna sounds great.
Yeah, I love lasagna.
Okay, so I'll take this question. If applying to advanced programs, should we list our prelim programs on our primary rank order list or just the supplemental rank order list? So when this might be a little confusing, but when you go on the NRMP website, for people applying to advanced programs like anesthesiology, radiology, radiation oncology, you have the option. So there are categorical programs and then there are advanced programs. Categorical includes PG1 through whatever number of years you're in. Advanced programs includes PGY2 and above. And so you have to have a PGY1. So how does this work when you submit your list? You select your program, and if it's an advanced program, there is a sub list within that primary list. It's called supplementary list. And that supplementary list that you list your prelim or transitional year programs should you match to that advanced program. For example, I created, I think 4, and you can create as many iterations of those as you want. I created 4 or 5 iterations of that. If I match into an advanced program in Ohio, those are my prelim transitional year order. If I match into a program in the Midwest, those are my prelim or TY rank. If I match anywhere else, that's going to be my iteration. And so the goal of creating those different iterations is, do I want to move multiple times? Do I want to move to my intern year and then, to my advanced program? Do I want to stay in my current town and then move to my advanced program? So you'll create your main rank order list, and then there's a supplementary rank order list that goes along with the primary one. It'll make so much sense when you see it on NRMP. But if you have any questions, put it in the chat and we can answer it. I don't know if anybody else did prelim who can answer this.
No, I did not, man. Mustafa, you're the best person to answer that. So. All right, so what we'll do now, so we'll go ahead and answer just a couple questions from the chat that we think all the applicants will benefit from. So we received wonderful questions. Just keep it coming, and we'll do our best to answer all of them. And Alison, do you have anything we could answer?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of them that have been really good that I think would benefit everyone. So one person asked, and I'll just open it to everybody here. So would you be able to go over an outline of how to send the email to your number one program? Is it a good rule of thumb to keep it short and sweet? Or should it be a detailed email listing all the reasons like why they're your number one? What do you guys think?
I don't know, Anita, what do you think?
I think keeping it short and sweet is the best thing. If you want to list it all, then by all means do that. But if you keep it short and sweet and just be personal about this email or this letter, that's all we're looking for. That is the main thing. It's all in the words.
Yeah, I just echo that. I know, again, just be professional, be sweet, be polite, just common sense stuff. I think your email will be wonderful, or your card, whichever you do. So.
Okay, perfect. Let's see here. Do you talk about a timeline for sending like your number one or your high ranking list letters or emails or what have you that you're going to send? How soon should we send those after? Is it too late now? What are your guys' thoughts on the timeline?
Timeline for the thank yous. I mean, obviously soon after the interview is always probably a little ideal. But that being said, I don't think there's any harm in sending them now. If you have them and now you're like, oh, I really like that program, because I mean, you're reflecting on the interview experience. You've still been engaging with the program. I'm sure you had some kind of post-interview correspondence, at least from the program. Usually I got follow-up like emails or surveys or whatnot. So I don't think there's a downside in sending an email now. the program coordinator just saying like, hey, I'm reflecting on the interview season. Thank you so much for all your hard work. I really enjoyed interviewing there. That's my personal thought, that I don't think they're going to be like, oh, this thank you note was 3.5 weeks late. Like, oh, how inappropriate. Like personally, I like if I get emails from applicants, I don't think that. However, I will say, as far as like emailing programs that like you're interested in like letting them know that you're ranking them number one or you're ranking them highly. A lot of programs do start like looking at making their rank list in January. And I remember I got an email from a program in like the end of January that was like, hey, like we just want to let you know we already like submitted our rank list and are just like letting you know like whatever about the interview, whatever season. So that program had, which is not where I ended up matching, but that program had finished their rank list by the end of January. So like, not to put like a time clock on it or pressure on it, but programs are, like making decisions and moving forward, relatively quickly. I would say once I would let them know, but I wouldn't jump the gun and be like too nervous that you're under pressure and then email someone that then you change your mind on. So make sure you're giving yourself enough time to think about it and process it. But then once you've made that decision, I wouldn't sit on it for like a week or two just so you think you're closer to when they're submitting, because everyone kind of submits at their own pace.
I definitely agree with Maria. The sooner the better is always best, because she's right. By the time January comes around, we're already planning our resident selection committee meeting. We're already going through all the interviews that we had. So it's always good to send it as soon as it's done. However, if you still have it in you and you're looking over everything, there's no harm in sending it now. It really isn't.
Perfect. Okay. Probably one last question, Dimitri, and then I don't know if you have other questions that we want to answer. Is there a recommended point that the medical student should be at in this process right now, in regard to submitting their rank list? Like, how close do you think that they should be to having it fully ready right now?
Honestly, it's very personal and it really depends on the person. I was just taking notes about each program, and I think maybe starting a month before, I started maybe organizing my list, but you don't need to have 1 to 10 right now at the moment. I think you just got to keep researching, keep absorbing information, look into the program. Do they have fellowship? Do they have ultrasound certification, global health, things like osteopathic recognition? Like, what are the pluses that you're looking at and what are the minuses? Still gather data. Once you have enough objective data, and then you'll be able to get a better idea of your list. I know people that started ranking 1 to 10 from day one. You could do that too, but at least for me, I waited to the last couple of weeks and last month or so. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Probably the same for me. I mean, if I reflect back 3 years ago, wow, to what I was doing at this point, I mean, I think I was probably I was using my app, little plug again for the Prism app. I was using that to try to figure out my rank list. I probably definitely didn't have it done at this point. I knew where my number one was, but that was based purely on feeling. But I had already sent all my emails out thanking the programs. And I was probably working on those like 2 through 5, trying to figure out where I wanted to go in case my number one fell through.
And I'll say the same thing I say to like every medical student, and now like to myself as a resident, everyone I know, always don't compare yourself to your peers. Like, yeah, it's good to know like when the rank list is due and like having these conversations. But I had friends who like January 1 were like, rank list is done. I'm just waiting for like the opportunity to like hit send because it's not opened yet. And I was like, oh, cool. I know my one, and that's literally it. So it can like be very intimidating, and everyone handles this entire process differently because this process is absolutely wild and insane and very different for each individual person. So take a deep breath, and like everyone will have like little differences. Just, I'd say if you need to send emails to your top like 1 to 3, 4, 5, try and get that done in the next couple of weeks or so if you haven't yet. And then make sure your rank list is due by like at least 2 days ahead of time, so you have that little buffer to make sure it's submitted on time. Because the last thing you want to do is not actually submit your rank list, which make sure you actually submit it.
I had a really good question from the chat. I'm not exactly sure if I understand that, but essentially someone is asking about applying for two specialties. So what if you apply for two specialties, one is an early match and the other one is a normal match? How do you go about communicating to the other program in the normal match that you've already matched? I think that's my understanding. But asking some of you in the panel, any advice on applying to two different specialties, and how do you go about that? And to follow up on that, how do you go about ranking those programs?
That's a good question. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, because you applied to emergency medicine and internal medicine, and both.
There we go, Maria.
I mean, I can't talk about the different deadlines because, so I applied, so EMIM as a combined has 11 programs in the country. So they recommend, the PDs for EMIMs recommend you apply to a categorical as well. So I applied, but I like EMIM so much as a whole that I ended up applying to EMIM and then some categoricals on both sides. And the way I ended up kind of looking at it was I assessed, and again, very individualized, but I tried to assess every individual program and see if I would see myself happy there. So I looked at like program A in EMIM and I was like, would I be happy living in this location if with this training, EMIM's 5 years, like here for 5 years with these people in this community? And then I'd look at like program B and say that was like an EM program. I was like, would I rather do just EM at this program instead of EMIM at this other program? So it's very individualized, and ultimately, ironically, most of my EMIM programs did end up at the top of my list. But I think that's just because I looked at each individual one and kind of where I wanted them to fall on my list. And so genuinely, I think that's kind of how you need to do it. I know people have different advice about trying to make sure you have a couple of each toward the top if you're applying to multiple specialties. But ultimately, like, you'll filter down the list of your rank list based on where you've ranked, obviously. And so putting the programs where you see yourself, the programs where you think you'll be happiest, the things that everyone's already touched on, I'd say like taking that and the specialty into consideration when you actually divide out and make the list is really important, and talking to residents and kind of getting their feel on how happy they are in the program as well. I don't have direct advice on different deadlines. I don't know if anyone else does. I can turn the floor over to someone who has actual advice or knowledge on that. I don't know if anyone.
So I was just gonna say, it's the theme is it's all about you. It's not about the program and what the program think or feel or how they're playing the game. You need to play your own game, and that's how the algorithm works. I mean, it favors the applicant first. It goes down your list and sees, okay, you rank this program at number 1. Cool. Let's see if they matched you high. They did not. Cool. And it keeps going down. If you rank 15 programs and it goes to number 15 and that program ranked you really high, you get a match there. It doesn't matter what the program, well, I mean, the algorithm favors you first. And so it always starts with you. And so when you apply to 2 different specialties, 3 different specialties, whatever it is, hopefully you have your number 1 favorite, field, and then you put your, backups, if you will, in case you don't match into that field. And so I would list, that number 1 specialty that you have. If you apply to, I don't know, surgical and non-surgical, if you want to go into surgical, put that first. If you want to go to non-surgical, put that first. It doesn't, I wouldn't put it based off of, how the program would rank you. And so in that vein, that deadline component, whichever is first, if you really like that program or that specialty and it comes first, then just rank them first. And if you end up matching, fantastic. Just email the however many other programs that you emailed and ranked, or you're interviewed and ranked, that, hey, I'm out.
Here we go.
I would say also call NRMP, because if you've already matched in the system, then your name will not show up when a program goes to put their rank list because you're already out of the match. It's like if you matched early in the military match, by the time we get to you in the end of January, your name won't come up at all. We won't see it. So definitely check with NRMP to see if that happens. And if you're applying to 2 programs, you're applying to 2 programs. I guess I would say, like, if you are applying to 2 programs and it's within the same college, they probably will talk and they probably will know that you are probably trying to get into both pediatrics and OB, and those things may or may not happen. But he's right, it does go based off the algorithm. So yeah, it's up to you.
Alison, any other questions you had?
Yeah. So we were just looking here. So let's do this one. So any recommendations for if we're worried we won't match? What sort of questions should we ask now so we are prepared in case you don't match and you're going into the SOAP process?
It's a good question. I know the SOAP process is it changed even a little last year. I had a couple colleagues who I kind of piggybacked with and experienced their SOAP, not necessarily nearly as much as they did. But I also had prepped to SOAP just because everything is so variable in this process, and you could be like the perfect candidate and fall through the cracks. And that's incredibly unfortunate. It does not say anything to how strong of a doctor you will be and how qualified of an applicant you are. It says that the system is broken. Which, yes, I went on record to say, you can tell the NRMP. However, I would say what I had done to kind of prep is I made sure I had a personal statement for one of the specialties that typically has a lot of spots in the SOAP that I would have been interested in applying to. So I knew IM typically has a decent amount of spots. And I would be happy having, if I just had to do IM, I would have been happy with that. So I made sure I had an IM personal statement kind of ready to go. Obviously it would have probably needed some tweaking in the SOAP world. And then I tried to, see if I had some kind of contact person who would have been able to write me a letter if I needed it. So if there were only certain programs in a certain specific New England part of the country, I our at least at UNE, our advisors are pretty involved and available, especially on the match Monday and match week. And so I knew I had them as a contact and I could talk to them and they would help me pull together letters if I needed them, letters of recommendation. So I think I just tried to make sure I had a letter or a personal statement kind of ready on backup. And I'd kind of thought about okay, if I have to SOAP, what specialties would I be happy in? Because it brings up the question as well. If you want to do a really competitive surgical stuff, especially neurosurgery, and there's no SOAP spots available and you don't match, but IM has 15 spots, are you going to be happy doing IM for 3 years and then doing a fellowship in IM or being a hospitalist for the however many years? Or do you want to be a neurosurgeon? In 50 years, are you going to remember that you had to take an extra year to apply and then reapply and ruin the whole year, which sucks? Or are you going to be happy that you change paths and are an internist? So again, it's very individualized, but I think I just tried to have a mindset of literally it's anyone's game. It's completely unpredictable to a degree. Anything can happen. And I tried to emotionally prepare myself that it could go any way, and then tried to have at least a personal statement on backup if I needed it. And then knowing who to reach out to on that Monday if I needed to have that happen.
I'm gonna also put a plug there too. Remember who you need to talk to if it happens. First of all, take a deep breath. Like Maria said, it doesn't mean anything of how you're going to be as a doctor in the future. Lots of people SOAP, and that's okay. As long as you get a spot, or if you have to reapply the next year, it happens. So take a deep breath and calm down and just talk to the person that you need to get yourself ready for the SOAP process.
Right. And just to give you a couple numbers, couple stats, because there's a good news. I was looking at the AOA website, and the match rate last year was the highest for DO seniors. It was about 91.6%. And after the SOAP, it was 99.6%. So there's a high chance that almost all of you guys going to match, the first time. And of course, it's unfortunate with the soap, but hopefully you still find a place to go and then you're happy there. So again, I echo what Maria and Alison say.
My one piece of advice I would say is, yes, just be ready on Monday morning. SOAP process goes very quickly throughout the day. The programs are geared up, and the SOAP process definitely is for the residents coming in. And so it favors you. It definitely favors you. The algorithm favors you. So just be ready on Monday, because the programs who are going through the SOAP process will be immediately reaching out to you. I can tell you that from experience. When we had to SOAP on Monday, I was up and I was emailing everyone, trying to plug in people, because that whole weekend we were working on our faculty members who can interview with us. We had our spreadsheet and everything ready. So just be ready to go on that Monday morning and give it all your best shot, and it'll be okay.
All right, I think we have time for just one or two more questions. Alison, do you have anything else, or Maria? I'm looking at the chat box right now.
Let's see here. I think the last thing here, so someone's trying to figure out which is more important. So whether you're getting along with people, or if the program has all the things you're looking for in terms of curriculum opportunities. So what recommendations do you guys have for that? Is it more important that they have everything you're looking for as far as the program specifics, or is it more important to get along with the people that you're going to be working with?
Yeah, that's a good question. And then really for me, again, it's very individual decisions. I was looking at a place where I was going to get the best training. All right. I know I was in West Virginia. They had places that were asking me to stay, but I went to a place where I was going to get fellowships available, or at least opportunities to branch out to fellowships, and that was an option for me. I went to a place where they had global health education, and that was, international medical missions were available to the residents. There was a medical school attached, and there was ultrasound certifications available as well. There was an osteopathic recognition available, so I could stay active using my hands. I could stay active within the osteopathic profession. So all of those things were important to me. I did not go where my family was. I know right now I'm applying for jobs. So at this point, I think now I would like to get close to the family. But initially, for my training, I went to a place that would offer me the best opportunities. I'd like to hear from Maria and Alison or Anita.
I would agree with you, Dimitri. I think it's very individualized. For me, it was kind of 50-50. I really wanted to get along with the people that I was going to be working with. I can say, I do a lot of call here. And so I really wanted to get along with the faculty and the residents. That was pretty important for me. But I also wanted to make sure that they had what I needed. Like I said, I'm doing an OB fellowship. So I wanted to make sure that I went somewhere that was going to give me the training that I needed. So truthfully, it's just your decision, trying to figure out which is the most thing that's important to you. If you really just want to get along with people, go where you feel comfortable, but know that you may be giving up some of the training. But I do think that that's very important.
Yeah, I agree with both Dimitri and Alison on this. I think it is incredibly individualized. It's hard because I feel like I kind of gypped the system, because I found a program that gave me exactly all the training I needed and had absolutely phenomenally amazing people. So I'm probably not the best one to answer this, but I feel like there's a lot of programs that are really strong in their training. And if you can kind of rank those like in the same box and then compare the people or the culture at those programs, that's kind of how I did it, because a lot of, especially EMI and programs, like have the traumas, have the admissions, have like the shift length, and then you kind of look, okay, well, how often do the residents get to hang out? How often are like they together? What's the community like? And so I tried to like clump the ones that I thought were really academically strong, and then kind of dive into the people in that. Because for me, I mean, yeah, I agree. I do want strong training, but I also am a very like feelsy person, and like on hour like 17 and like being exhausted and then having someone come in and like give me a hug like that, like, oh, that can like make my day so much better. So that's kind of one of the big things that factored into it for me. But I agree with Allison. It was like more of a 50-50 for me. And I think it really is incredibly individualized.
Yes, just to echo what everyone is saying, it is an individualized decision. Just like what Dimitri was saying, if you're looking for fellowships, if you're looking to get more into research, then that is something that you really need to look into. And also think the classes change every year. So when you start residency, you will come in with a whole new crop of residents, and the senior residents will be gone. They will have graduated. So it continues to change every year. So you may not be with the same residents. Well, you won't be with the same residents throughout all the years, but it's also very important to look at the faculty too and see how they are. So most of the time we have our faculty interview the candidates. That gives you just a small view of the faculty that works in the program. Even when we go on hospital tours, you meet some of the faculty. Just take all of those things into consideration when you're thinking, but it is very much individualized. It's what you're trying to get out of residency, because you are going to be there for 3 to 5 years.
And then I have one last question, and Anita, I'm going to ask you this specifically because I have zero clue about the answer to this. Do you know if programs see when students submit their applications in SOAP, or are they all date stamped at the same time?
That is a very good question. I haven't seen SOAP in over a year from now. When we did SOAP and we opened it, we looked at exactly who was there, and that's how we did our interviews. And then when we had to go to the next round, then we refreshed it and we went back and looked at it again. It depends on the program. Some programs probably are not going to do that. They're probably not going to refresh and have those things done. So that's why it's important to always have your information in as early as possible, because we're scrambling, you're scrambling. You just want to make sure that when they are reaching out, like when we are starting on Monday morning, you're ready to go too. So it's been a while, but I don't think it's time stamped.
Thank you.
I just want to jump in really quick. We did have a couple questions about couples matching, and unfortunately, none of us participating today were involved in any type of couples matching. So we couldn't give any real advice or comments on it, but the Council on Residency Placement, or CORP, is planning a webinar on couples matching. So just keep an eye out for that. And if you have questions specifically there, that should be helpful for that. So sorry we couldn't be helpful, but one is coming for you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, all of you guys. Wonderful questions. I want to thank everyone for your time, the panel, the applicants. Again, as we wrap up this webinar, before we leave, I would like to ask our panel for one last piece of advice for our soon-to-be interns. If you had to tell them one thing before your match, and what would you tell them?
Take a deep breath, enjoy this process. It sucks right now, but you're going to look back 3 years from now and be like, man, I made it.
Yeah, I would say be true to yourself as well, and be proud of yourselves for making it this far. You've interviewed at places, obviously, and those places were interested in you, and they would probably take everyone they interviewed if they could, to be honest. There's just limited amount of funding for spots. So be proud of how far you've come. And then as you're moving forward, be true to yourself and kind of picture yourself where you want to be, and trust that everything will work out one way or another. You've made it this far, you're doing good things, and you'll be good in the end, I promise.
Awesome. And I echo what you just say. Just make sure you take time for yourself. It's going to be a long journey, and this is the start. So reflect back at your programs where you interview at, look at the red flags, just look back at the resident faces. Were they happy? Were they smiling? So again, I think you're going to do well. You're going to match. You're going to be a wonderful resident.
My piece of advice would be just to echo what I said earlier in the beginning. Please don't be afraid to ask questions. If you're between programs and you're getting your list together, ask those questions. Even if you interview back in October or early November and you still have a question on your mind because this, you're creating your rank list, go ahead and ask that question. And just to reiterate what everyone said, this is a well, we want it to be once in a lifetime experience, and make sure that you take in that that you were lucky to be a part of this. A lot of people do not go through a residency interviews at all. This is a great experience. So give yourselves a pat on the back for even coming this far, and it's going to be great. Everybody's going to do just wonderful.
Awesome. Well, let's close this. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your questions. Wonderful questions again. This session is recorded and it's going to be available to you. Here's the information in the chat box, our email, our website. You can also follow us on social media, and you all have a good evening. All right, bye-bye, and good luck, guys.
Bye, guys. Good luck.